Hey, what's going on, everybody? Man, I'm gonna get my man Kevin in here. Two Shy Guys going live tonight. We're talking about leveling up, and I think Kevin specifically wants to talk about, black farmers and how they can help us level up financially. So let me get Kevin added in here. Let's see if he's coming. Hey, what's going on? Kevin's watching. What's going on, Miss Cheryl? What's going on, Floyd? How y'all doing? See if my man Kevin can get added in here. What's going on, Mark? Miss Summerfrost, how are you? See if we can get Kevin rolling. Hey, what's going on, cuz? There he is. What's going on, Floyd? Nothing much, my brother. On here, getting our talk in. See, we're adding Kevin right now. What's going on, Isaac? You on the road, man, or you just you still at the office? What's going on, Rocky? How you doing, bro? Nothing wrong with doing laundry. Let's see. Let me try to add you again, Kev. Said it was adding you. I'm approving you again. Said, let's see if it's adding you. Said no answer from live video guest. I see you keep going. Gotcha. Hey, that's what's up. I'll join in on your show too, bro. I'll stop by and make sure I check you out. Uh-oh, Kevin, I don't know what you're doing. Shut down your Facebook maybe and retry it. Because it's not letting me add you. Yeah, Isaac, I was shocked that you was on your computer earlier, bro. Because I know you used to doing that here. I'm going to clear this request, Kevin. Try again. You might have to restart your phone. I've been there before. What's going on, Aaliyah or Jason? How you doing, bro? Hope all is well with you. So, Kevin, if you restart your phone, restart Facebook specifically. You don't necessarily have to restart your phone, but restart Facebook specifically, and you should be able to get added in. Here, let me go ahead and start sharing this in the typical places. Yeah, what's going on, everybody? How's your night been? Anybody watching the games? See if this works. There we go. We got Kevin working. It's showing that it's adding them. Let's see if he can get in there. What's going on, Danielle? How you been? I thought I was gonna have to go solo without you, man. You know how you are sometimes.
Yeah, it's not me. It's the equipment, man. It's always the equipment.
You know, my Floyd said he's Netflix. You ain't got no jokes for us tonight? Yeah.
Who, me? Oh, man, you sure you want to throw a challenge out like that to me, man? How do you get a tissue to dance?
Oh, I already know. Go ahead. How do you get a tissue to
put a little boogie out?
like Charles Barkley. That's terrible. That's
terrible, man. Terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I love terrible jokes. Man, I thought we was going into talk about restarting, the importance of restarting, but we can weave that. We can weave the first topic in too.
I didn't say a topic. I mentioned you said something about black farmers, but I don't ever know what you're gonna talk about. So get it rolling.
Well, since you mentioned black farmers, we can go ahead and go into that real quick. And I was looking at an article today talking about black soil and intro to agriculture in the black community, and it just got me thinking about the importance of real estate and wealth building with respect to the black community and today, and how often in the article it talked about how there are so many black families that has land in their family, in their lineage, that belongs to them, that either they are aware of and just letting lay unused, or they aren't aware of and just have no idea that they have control, access, and ownership of some land. And I was just, with connection to Black Panther, and then thinking about Black Wall Street, and then thinking about the Tuskegee incident, and just thinking about in the past how when it comes to real wealth attainment in this world in America, how important it is to own an actual plot of land. It's very essential and key when it comes to sustainable generational wealth, and when it comes to building strong communities that will last across generations. And I'm just noticing that there is a movement for especially in the Kentucky area to not only strengthen the Black farmers that we have now, but actually get Black people in general to kind of go back into that. And a little personal story that I have to that is that I recently found out that in my family we had a lot of land. And when I started talking to people, they're like, "Yeah, Grandpa always took us out to the farm to get the meat or to get vegetables. We always had acres of land." And I just recently found out that they're in the process, the older generations in the process of breaking it up and partitioning it and selling it off. And I took a journey to go look at it, and I was like, wow, just think if somebody just took some of these acres and actually used them. Not only could I support myself and my family, but I could actually support a community. And just looking at my job that I have now, and looking at just today at one of my locations,
Gotcha.
it was a farm, and they had some llamas, some sheeps, and some cows, the dogs, some land, and we're sitting here doing our work, and the mama's in the living room knitting some wool from the sheep, and the mama and the dad's just sitting there chilling.
Yeah, Jason said,
on his piece of land.
Jason said a lot of people did not pay the taxes on a ton of land and lost it. That's a very important point, Jason. Not to cut you off, Kevin, but that's a huge point, especially from the standpoint that I know people whose families have lost not just farmland, but land in general because they've gotten older. They don't have any income, and basically the government seizes it because of taxes. So you got to make sure that you stay on top of that kind of stuff because it's finances, right? It's keeping track of where money needs to go and that kind of stuff. Because if you lose track of that, then somebody can swoop in and take your land without you even knowing it. Danielle asked a question. She said, how do we find out if we have land in the family? So how did you find it?
Well, one quite simple way is to start asking, interrogating, and questioning just about everybody you could find in your family, and just do as much research as you can. Yep. And then also, of course, go downtown, go through some books, go question all the, go through the records. That's the other way I would start. But first and foremost, the most simplest, to keep it simple, is just start questioning everybody in your family that you can get a hold of.
Photo books are a good way to do that because a lot of times you see your family taking pictures in front of property and things like that. So you got to be very inquisitive, and that's another aspect. Because there's some things I want to talk about in regards to land and family. Because I had this conversation earlier with Lamar. Yeah, really. Because I had it with my wife on the way coming into the office. And then when Lamar got here, I brought up some of the discussion I was talking with my wife. Also, Rocky said that deeds were destroyed after Reconstruction, which is very true. So property records and those things, they were conveniently destroyed in some cases, right? So, because I know my grandfather, right before he died, he was actually petitioning for some land that his family had lost. It was his mother and father, they had left land to their children. It was actually my family, like his children, his brother's children, and then all of his other siblings. Land was left to them, and he was trying to get some of that back. Isaac said eminent domain is a danger as well. Yeah, that's what I was talking about with the taxes. And again, it's understanding what you own, which is very important, especially think about our conversation, was it yesterday, the day before, you're talking about soft skills and the gap between generations. Well, this is how land gets lost as well. When there's a gap between families, gap in communication, then land is part of that discussion, and if those communication lines aren't open, then you could possibly be missing out on wealth. Your family could be missing out on wealth. I know my wife, she's big into that. She talks about land that her family used to own, and then the kids sold it off, not understanding the value of the land that they had. So that's a huge one as well. Again, is communication and understanding the value of the land, or even the fact that that the land is available. So keep talking. I'm going to grab my mouse real quick.
All right. Yeah. Just like my man was talking about, the value of the land and the perception of just having land has been lost, and we have to be adamant and proactive about bringing that back to the forefront as far as the conversation with respect to the Black community, the African American community, and with respect to building generational wealth. It is definitely key when it comes to having something that's sustainable, that's substance, that's tangible, that if the grid goes down, you got a place to go. And as I'm talking, I'm thinking about Jim Embry specifically, and how I look at his sons and how they really live a freedom lifestyle, just looking at how a lot of them live, and that they always got land to go back to. They're like what's the polymaths, where they're just geniuses in a lot of different areas of life, and just the basics of having land and cultivating it for your own personal usage first, and then maybe developing that into something if you want to. But one of the things I've noticed is the difference with perception when it comes to different communities as to how important it is to have property and assets and land and real estate. If you don't have it, I admonish each and every one of us to make it one of our goals to at least pursue that or walk in that way, in that journey, when it comes to some of your life goals.
Yeah, here's the thing, because Rocky brings up some very good points. He says if you can't afford to maintain the land, then the land becomes a liability. Rocky's a tax accountant. Also, because he was talking about the land is only as valuable if you can maintain it. Meaning, if you can keep up the property taxes, if you can keep the land, like it depends on where the land is located. Maybe you have to pay to keep it looking a certain way. All of those things are part of it. Also, Cheryl said her great grandfather had a soybean farm. Lost a large portion because of the one drop rule in Virginia. Oh yeah, talking about racism, those kinds of issues that come along with that. Danielle asked, she said, can we go and buy land through taxes on properties that's left abandoned? She'll definitely ask her older relatives. It really depends, because I know one of the things that we have done, my wife and I, we make sure that we stay up on our taxes. And even we've considered the tax route that Danielle's talking about and going to pay for some other ones, but that's a catch-22. I'm not 100% sure on if somebody decides to pay their back taxes, if you're just left out in the wind, so to speak. I know some people try to do that to put a lien on a house, a lien on property, but I'm not 100% sure on that. That's not my background. Another one, Jason, Aaliyah over here, under Aaliyah's name, said that's the only reason that I don't like when people say we shouldn't complain about past bondage. A lot of their family's wealth came from the free land given to their ancestors, which is what gave them such a large head start. Yeah, we're talking about that one. That one is definitely a huge one, Jason. Talking about land that was just given to white people, right? Black people were out of that. They weren't able to acquire that free land. Yeah, the land grab.
The land
And
grab.
so they get the leg up, and then when you have these conversations, it's like, oh, my grandfather worked hard, all of this kind of stuff. They don't mention the redlining that took place as well. So a lot of these things get brushed over in terms of when we talk about wealth gaps in the United States between black people and just about any other race for that matter, and the things that happened to us, the fact that we were left out of I forgot the name of the act right now. My mind's going too fast.
I know,
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about because I just looked it up. That is still
yeah,
in
yeah. It was the
effect, and
Homestead
there
Act.
are
It was the
people
Homestead Act.
still. Uh,
Yeah,
the whole thing. There's still people acting upon that. That's what That's one of the things that only. I just I brought this topic
yeah,
up so we can move forward, knowing about the past. But when you brought up the Homestead Act, now we can shift the conversation as to,
yeah.
okay,
We
this
are.
is where we're here now, and where can we? What are some general things, directions that we can move into, and what are some
Yeah.
things, some
So
solutions, some practical things that we can
yeah. So
start
so here's
walking
what Rocky
towards
said. He said,
now.
"How about if we donate the land to the co-op to ensure we maintain ownership?" So he's talking about the cooperative that we Lamar and I we've been pushing and talking about cooperative economics and those kinds of things. That's actually a great idea. Actually, have everybody on the land. So the land, so that way it's guaranteed to be maintained. So that way it doesn't get sold, or if it does get sold, it doesn't get sold at an undervalue. Those kinds of things. My man Isaac said
Right.
Malcolm taught us that land is the basis of all revolutionary movements. Land equals resources equals power. I definitely agree. Ms. Cheryl said it was sanctioned to him as an agreement under the indigenous people tribes until his record showed he had black blood, a portion that went back to the government. She's talking about her grandfather when he lost his land. Talking about the one
Um,
percent rule would mean if you have one drop of black blood in you, that kind of stuff. Floyd said it would be wise to purchase some land before they legalize marijuana. I'll definitely, Floyd. We've been talking. We've definitely been talking about that. Go ahead, Gary.
have we been talking about that, or have you and Lamar
Lamar
been
and I,
talking
we've
about that?
definitely been talking about it. And actually, a whole lot of people have been talking about it. I know we've discussed it in passing, but not necessarily too super in depth.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it when somebody mentioned the soybeans and how a lot of. I was thinking about how now because I worked at I worked at an organic farm, and a lot of stuff that I was around there that I really wasn't privy to, I didn't have my eyes open to. Now looking back, it's like, oh wow, there's a lot of there was a lot of stuff that now makes sense. And just looking at just Kentucky specifically, and how 2014 with the Farm Bill Act, how there's been a grab for the license to start
Yep, yep,
with cannabis
yep.
and producing cannabis. And now that window is closed. So it was like everybody was shuffling to get in place. And then now legislating is soon to follow. So when the doors
Yeah, of
open,
course. That's how it
everybody's in
works. It's how it
place.
works. They get
It's ridiculous.
the moneyed up cronies in place and position to capitalize on these things. Yeah, there's a lot of gatekeepers to keep people out. So that's definitely an issue. So that's why you gotta, like you said, start planning ahead, start grabbing some of this stuff now, thinking 20 years down the road. A lot of us make moves reactionary. So it's like things happen to us as opposed to us happening to things. So we have to start planning ahead, planning 20 years down the road, looking at where the laws can go, and also gathering people to push the laws in the directions you need them to go. I'm going to answer some of these questions real quick.
Yeah.
Rocky asked, he said, is the co-op going to make real estate investments? Yeah, Rock, that was one of the things we talked about very early on. I mean, you already understand the vision. The goal right now is to make sure everything is in place, everything is done correctly, and of course that is a process that we're planning to go into. But it's not going to be the first thing we jump into, just to make sure that we have everything in line the way we need to. But we're definitely thinking about it. My man Jason, he says you can invest in tax liens, you can get guaranteed interest on it if they pay it off, or you get a first lien position if they don't. So this goes back to Danielle's question. That's why I love
Wow.
open source conversations, right? There are plenty of people. Yeah,
Yeah, because
exactly.
a
It's
lot
it's
of
like
I'm getting
Who Wants to
educated,
Be a
man.
Millionaire, right? You go ask the audience, and somebody in the audience knows the information. So I love it. See, Floyd said big tobacco is going to swallow up that industry. I believe they're trying to put themselves in place, but again, the problem with big tobacco is they already have land that is they can't cut their profits off at the moment. If that makes sense. So the fact that they already have
Yeah,
yeah, the fact that they already
they're
have
kind of
seeds in the
tied up.
ground for a specific way, but I mean, eventually, if they're smart enough, they will start inching away from the tobacco side of things. But tobacco is still good money right now. So I'm not sure how
Oh,
much they have
definitely.
uh, the latitude to move that quickly. That's why it's imperative that small people they have the ability to move swiftly, and that is just like the Empire Strikes Back, right? The you know the yeah, the little people they can move very fast.
Little,
It's like those empires take a behemoth of
yeah.
movement. So that's an opportunity, right? The fact that they move slow. However, if you're not planning now, then the fact that they move slow won't mean anything because they have resources to catch up.
Well, I just want to broaden it out a little bit, just in speaking in general,
Yep.
talking about wealth building and some tactics when it comes to wealth building. You know, we're talking about land and resources and control of energy being the foundation of everybody's household,
Yep.
family, community. But what are some other things? One of the things that you're striking right now is talking about planning ahead and just looking at how people in upper middle class, roundtable groups, governments, organizations, they plan, a lot of them, many of them plan in generational terms, 50, 60, 70, 100-year terms. You know, when I worked at Walmart, one of the things that blew me away when I first found out was they only took 99. Sam Walton only wanted 99
Yeah.
year leases. Who does that?
Yeah, I know.
Who does 99-year leases? You know, it don't even. And then so so this just thinking about that, this is really, I just wanted to bring it back home to each and every one of us to kind of sit down. We brought up the planning to start looking at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 99, 100-year terms versus the
Yep.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 that we're often taught
Yeah.
to think in terms
Quick,
of.
quick.
So just wanted to bring it out to the
Yeah, real
forefront
quick to
too and
say,
speak on
Rocky
that.
said big pharma will, hold on, will consume the marijuana market. Yeah, they definitely got the bread to do so. Another area where the government influences pharma. Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to talk about in regards to and again, it goes back into the planning aspect and how we can take advantage of knowing is
Yes,
train your children and get your children to train their children. Because one of the things that I've seen come up that is coming along and actually is a problem. My cousin was actually talking to me recently. Let's see. Nina said, "Does anybody want to lease her land in Lassen County, North California?" So somebody here is, yeah, we got to return to the water. There's a whole lot of stuff. Let me quit looking at this stuff so I can get my thought out because I'm like a squirrel, right? It's like squirrel, like Doug, I'm up, right? One of the
yeah,
things
yeah.
I was talking about with my wife because my cousin, he came by the house and we were talking about land. He knows places in Kentucky where you can get land extra cheap. I mean, talking about super cheap, right? And he was talking about building it up. And then my wife was giving me a backstory on some of these properties. And there's a particular place in Kentucky where there's like a bunch of like lawyers, doctors, and educated folk back in the day, black people had bought like a vast amount of land, and this particular area was all black. However, over time, because it's in the country, it's away from, big city, that kind of stuff. Over time, the children lost interest in it. So now they're like
Yep.
at a point where they can't necessarily maintain that status because their children don't care to keep it. And this is why I'm going back to, like,
Yeah.
especially from the standpoint of farming. That's not necessarily farmland that I'm talking about, but farming is the same way, right? Because we have we've separated ourselves from agriculture so much because of, big business and all, whatever reason, right? Then our children that inherit that land, they have no background in it. They have no desire in it. I remember we were years ago, Lamar and I, we were looking to go get a particular building, and we mentioned a community garden. And the person that was caretaker of the land is like, I don't want any parts of gardening, of farming or anything like that. When I grew up, my parents did that, and I said I would never do that in my life. So for them, it's like it's such a disdain for it. And also, I was watching some other documentaries here recently where there's a stigma around Black people of tending land because of slavery and the things that were done. They're kind of backing away from it because they look at it as, slave labor, so to speak. So there's a lot of things that we have to entrench in our young people, the people that own the land, or is to get them to see the value in it, to get them to live past the stigma. Nina says it's similar to Queen Sugar. I've never seen Queen Sugar, so it could be the exact same thing. I have no idea. But we got to get past the stigma of those things and understand how economics work, how finances work, and just cultivate that. I know I was about to set up some interviews with some farmers here locally. I talked to one of the guys I went to school with. His name is John. I forgot his last name. He's doing agriculture, and they have programs where they teach kids to get into agriculture. Of course, they know Mr. Jim Embry. If you live in Lexington, Kentucky, or anywhere in the Midwest, you will know Jim Embry if you have anything to do with farming and land. He's just that dude. I love that guy. Yeah, I love that guy. And also Farmer Brown. I know him so much by his nickname. I forgot his real name. Trevor Claiborne. He does the Farmer Brown thing. So basically, they introduce hip hop with farming, and they train kids.
Yeah, he's the one. He's the one who wrote the article.
Yeah, Trevor. He's good people, man. He's a good dude, down to earth guy, literally and figuratively. And so. Yeah, but he's trying to get kids involved in farming. We've talked about, getting our kids involved with it, to get them to, to value land, to value the aspect of farming, growing your own food, those kinds of things. And also from a wealth perspective, it saves you so much money to grow your own food, right? And you don't have to grow a lot. Man. You don't really have to grow a lot to maintain your own family. I know a gentleman locally named Arnold Gaither, a mentor of mine. He just grew his own tomatoes, cucumbers, and something else. He just did it for himself. Yeah, very small. And he says, I haven't had to buy this stuff for years. So it's money that you can put in your pocket and those kinds of things. But going back to what we were saying earlier, it's the communication gap, right? We got to instill this in our children, instill economic principles into our families. Because that's where we fall short. And again, it's not entirely our fault. The majority of it is not our fault, to be honest. However, we have to understand this. Those that can recognize it have to understand that we have to get past fighting all the time and start educating and building up our kids. Sometimes we fight other people so much we don't build up our own people. So we gotta be wise, right? And I'm not saying we don't fight. So go ahead.
Yeah. That's why energy management. You only got so much energy to manage when it comes to getting out and protesting. Nothing against getting out and protesting, but at the same time, you want to take that energy and direct it in a forward manner, like education, like on a day-to-day basis, getting out and hitting the trenches, like getting out and building relationships. One of the things that I personally done when I had my health crisis was I made it a part of my life to go out and actually walk and visit and knock on doors and make relationships with the community farmers that I could. That's how I got access to quote unquote real food. I'm always one, to talk about farm fresh food, farm to table, get as close back to nature and natural as you can when it comes to nourishing your body, because the world that we live in is highly toxic, and it's designed to make you a consumer, a customer of the current health care system.
Shout out to Jason.
And so
Thanks,
you don't
Jason,
want to
for
be a
drinking the
consumer.
water, brother. He's on the 5 feet, and I just thought about it. Go ahead. Take your water, by the way.
Yeah. You don't want to be a consumer or a customer. And just talking about water, just, I was watching a documentary the other day, just talking about how I didn't realize there were 2 cycles of water when it comes to primary water.
Yep.
And then secondary water, and that we're often pushed the negative part of the narrative when it comes to our water. But really, water is infinite. I mean, it just blows my mind, the world, if given your perspective on the nature of reality, how it all makes sense, and that everything is infinite. What you put in, you will get out. No matter how much negativity, no matter how much problems that may seem unsolvable is out there, there's a solution to everything, and it's just about making the choice to look and search for solutions. One of them being what we're doing now is collaborating. Like you said, there's a lot of stuff I'm learning right now when it comes to land taxes and history and things like that. So instead of me being mad and upset and going out and protesting, get on Facebook, and if I had some money, I would lease Nina's land in NorCal and have a place to go and bug out to if I wanted to. But I can't do it right now.
Nina, we coming. Yeah, man. See, let me get some of these comments real quick. See, Cheryl said her husband, other side, had land in Cairo, Georgia. The elders just paying the taxes because no one wants to subdivide and sell anything. So yeah, that's still good. The fact that they're maintaining it just to keep it in the family, right? That's very important. Yeah. Let's see. Floyd said locally grown organic food is big business now. Oh yes.
Well, yeah, I want to comment about that. Yeah, it's big. The trend is, big business has noticed the trend. I mean, if you go into any big box store now, Walmart's the biggest seller of quote unquote organic. I mean, you want to research what organic actually means, but
it's closing in on them, man. I know
Walmart's the biggest seller.
They might be neck and neck. We'll see where Amazon comes into play, though.
Well, Amazon, I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk the other day. He was talking about Amazon. And one of the things I learned about Amazon when I read the book, The Everything Store, is that Jeff Bezos, man, he's on a mission. And it's very clear that the tactics that he's using right now when it comes to just Whole Foods in general, he's already blasted out a lot of middle chain people when it comes to the natural food section. So all you're going to be left with is the small guy, the very small local community guy, and the big box guy, mainly Amazon at the top. And remember, Amazon, Jeff Bezos plans in multi-100-year plans. So he's not worried about today, tomorrow, and 100 years. He's looking like a couple of 100 years down the line. What kind of thinking is that? So just thinking about that, the question still remains: what can you do? What can I do?
So the answer, part of that anyway, is we can work together. Going back to the cooperative economics, the cooperative
work together.
When I'm talking about economics, it's everything, right? It's not just finances; it's everything. Going back to what Jason said earlier, he said, some of us confuse neighborhoods for communities. A community can be self-sufficient. Yeah, it's a place of common unity. And that's why I always talk about community as common unity. Our common unity is the survival of each other. A lot of us are just neighbors, but we're not really neighbors, right? And that's one of the things that we're trying to push with the cooperative. That's one of the things we try to push on this show is start working together. The one way that you disrupt the government, the one way that you disrupt Jeff Bezos, the one way that you disrupt all of these corrupt organizations or these big businesses is to work together. There's more power in the 99 than it is in the one. Period. And go ahead.
It makes you think about the
Oh yeah,
cartoon
yeah,
ant
yeah.
and the
Yeah, it's
grasshoppers.
like they didn't realize that they had numbers.
Yeah.
I'll put it like this. I remember we did a speaking engagement years ago. It was for the minor. No, it was for like a tech. There was a tech event here locally in Lexington, Kentucky, and there was one of the guys that came and spoke. He was from the Ali Center. He was young gentleman, young black dude from New York, and he said that slavery was a math problem. And the reason why he was saying that is because if you look at the way some of the plantations were set up, it would be like maybe three or four, say it was just 10 white people, masters or overseers, whatever, on a property, but you got hundreds of slaves. It's a math problem. Until you start realizing that you're more powerful than the few, which is the 99 versus the 100, once you realize that you're more powerful than the few, nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop you. I mean, period. It's like we're talking about resources, right? We're talking about solving problems. One way to solve a problem is to not even have a problem with it at all. For example, say that I have a problem with basketball goals being too high, right? Basketball goals are high. They have an issue, but guess what? Once you start playing basketball, those problems go away. Yeah. You reinvent the game. And that's one of the things that people have to understand. We get signed up, going back into the whole marketing and the psychology and all of this kind of stuff. A lot of the things that we have problems with aren't problems at all. They really, yeah, they're really not problems at all. It's like, I know one of these things, I can say it now because I'm not necessarily pushing it, but it's like with taxes. We're talking about taxes and eminent domain and all of this kind of stuff, right? Here's how powerful we could actually be in reality, but we won't be because we're psychologically challenged. Hold on, it's probably my wife. Is if everybody walked away from their jobs. Just have a day, we're talking about the kids protesting in school. Just imagine if everyone in the United States, across the globe, wherever, just walked away from their jobs, period. Who's going to do anything? I'm not talking about total anarchy here, but if we think about it, and again, I'm just trying to show people the true power, where true power is, right? You can only, it's like power it requires you to be complicit. You have to be complicit in a lot of terms into a lot of people's power, for power to control you. You have to be complicit.
Well, it makes you think of the book by Edward Bernays, Manufactured Consent, and that they realize they cannot do anything until consent is given. That's part of the metaphysical. That's part of the rules to the game, so to speak. The game of life is nobody can do anything unless first and foremost it is put out there what you're doing, whether it be in the fine print or whether you scream it from the rooftops. So that's part of the rules of the game, is that consent must be given. So when you hear the question of when the vampire says, "Can I come in?"
Exactly. It's like don't answer it. Exactly. Rocky actually said something that I was just thinking. He said, "People are the resources." Period. But we don't understand that. Human resources. Yeah, but we don't understand that we're the biggest resource on this planet. It's not the oil. It's not the gold. It's not even the water. It's we are. Go ahead.
Well, that's why the new thing now is when you listen to the new term now is data is the new oil, talking about just a human being living and breathing. All the data that comes off of us, out of us, is now being mined by the deep mind, by the Googles.
It's the Matrix. If you think about the Matrix movie, didn't you say it was written by a black woman? But if you think about that, Sophia. The Matrix movie, the people were the resource that was being gleaned. It wasn't the oil. It wasn't anything else. It was the people that were being gleaned for their energy. And it's the same thing now. And until we realize that, until we come together, like you said, the power is not necessarily just in the numbers, it's in the unity. And until we get that, and it's a hard thing to preach because everybody's divided. Right? That's the master thing, right? You know, the diaspora, especially when it comes to people of color, indigenous people, you separate them, you spread them out. That's how you get rid of consensus. You know, talking about blockchain type stuff, you got to have consensus, right? We separate all the nodes, and the nodes don't connect.
Yep.
So that's why we have to start connecting. Yeah, we are 75% water. That's why we have to start connecting. We have to start interlocking these nodes, right? So we can start getting consensus among the people.
Well, believe it or not, that's what's happening now with the internet, and that's what has got the non-governmental organizations, a lot of these roundtable groups, kind of up in arms. Like I listened to a World Economic Forum speech the other day, and they were talking about the reworking of globalization. It's like they pretty much, in so many words, they're saying, how can we repackage this so that we don't end up where we're at now? And I was going to text you, but I figured, you probably just roll your eyes. But I was like, I'm just sitting here listening to this, and they're sitting here saying, so how are we going to repackage this, guy? It's like watching the Legion of Doom or something at a round table.
It's not like watching it.
And the title is, how do we do global? How do we resell globalization so that people love it, and we don't end up with where we're at now? So
hold on a second.
So yeah, you hit on it when you talked about the importance, first and foremost, of just taking this discussion and taking what we're putting out now, what we're talking about now, and finding ways to incorporate it first in yourself, to get your mindset, to get your heart set on it, to get your movements that you carry out on a day-to-day basis in line with what we're talking about, and then how also all those people that come within your sphere, your circle of influence, and kind of shifting everybody to that direction. And you talked about children. One of the things that I've learned to do over the years is actually take my children out to the farm and let them see the cows and let them say, hey, this is where food actually comes from. They're like, really? I thought it came from the big box store. Like, no, the big box store. Exactly. Like, nah, they get it from here, so I actually have to do it on a regular basis.
See, were you going to finish your thought? I didn't want to cut you off.
Well, I was going to say things like container gardening.
It's simple stuff that we can do. It doesn't have to be over the top. It doesn't have to be big, which is, again, going back to the psychology of how we've been manipulated, how we've been scrambled, so to speak, into believing that everything has to be big. Because think about it, it's like, I'm a designer. I believe in polishing things and all of that kind of stuff. But even that is a psychological weapon against people, because if they can't make something perfect, then they tend not to do anything at all, right? So you get this illusion of something is perfect and polished, and yours still looks like a paper mache. So you don't want to present it to the world, right? But there's still value in you presenting what you have, because that allows you to refine and build whatever it is you're working on. Rocky earlier talked. Go ahead.
Man, that's powerful. Yeah, that's powerful, because every time I get on a live stream with you, I'm like, man, I don't feel perfect and polished, But at some point, you just push the button and hope that somebody finds value, and that we find value in whatever is being put out there in the atmosphere right now. So anytime, like, people are resources, so anytime you have people in it, there's something of value there. So yeah, just start, just do it. That's another nugget that you just dropped on us, like Snoopy dropping bombs on the Red Baron. Just do it. Yeah, man. Just drop them all day long. My man, I like what Rocky was talking about. He was saying that globalization is happening. The problem is that the power and control have no control of it. They are losing control, if I'm understanding that statement correctly. And then he said globalization is toppling governments. Yeah, that's the goal. Is globalization is to topple governments, and but love them or hate them, that's where you get people like Trump. That's like, for example, just I'm apolitical, so I just watch all this stuff like I'm watching WWE. So just looking at how him getting in and not Hillary kind of threw a monkey wrench in what they were planning, and it's got them up in arms. But it seems like they've been able to kind of maneuver some things, some ways, as far as what the agenda is and what the agenda has been for some time with respect to war and making sure that we continue the resource grabs and stuff like that. So the agenda is going to move forward. It's just sometimes we get moments of reprieve. And then I like what somebody was talking about, the internet is everywhere. Yeah, the internet, right now, we live in one of the greatest times in humanity. We do, because what's happening right now is we are being transferred into this digital global economy, and it's like the wild, wild west when it comes to the matrix world that's being built. There's a digital land grab going on right now as far as digital real estate, digital money, digital economies, digital corporations. All this stuff is being set up right now, and who knows how long this is going to last for. But right now, we're living in the midst of it. And I think I brought up Gary Vee again. He was talking about no matter if you start from zero right now, he was like, we're still in infancy stage. So he was just, putting out there, just be practical, be patient, and be like the tortoise, not the hare. Build, like you always say.
One brick at a time. And you got to start focusing on those bricks. Let's see. Jason said with the worldwide acceptance of maritime admiralty law, that is why central banks are fighting the cryptocurrency so tough. Here's the deal with even the cryptocurrencies stuff, right? I'm in the cryptocurrency space. Me and Lamar, we talk about this stuff all the time. But here's the thing, though. Kevin hit the nail on the head when he said that they're fighting for control over your mind. Period. Because when you understand money and what money really is, it's this. It's this. Think about it. A piece of paper. Literally, you trade food for a piece of paper. It's supposed to represent something. But in reality, it's still just a piece of paper. And we just accept it as that, right? The fact that we accept it. Everybody could literally collapse every government across the world, across the globe. Just change your mind on what you value as currency. That's it. You know what? The dollar doesn't mean anything to me. Bitcoin doesn't mean anything to me. I'm gonna create this new coin, and this is what means something to me and everybody around me. Boom. Economy collapsed instantly.
Yep.
And control has transferred hands. Because guess what? Even the richest of people, with all the resources that they quote unquote have, if people quit putting value in their money, then they have no control over the resources that they own. Because they can't hire anybody. They can't enforce the law. It's all of that, but it's all psychological. But if we don't understand that, and if we can't get enough people to understand that, then it makes it hard to fight, because that's all you're fighting right now. The thing that you find out with the internet is that the real fight is opinions. The real fight comes down to opinions and beliefs.
Yeah.
And that's where the control of that. If I can control your beliefs, I can control everything about you, which is why they put billions and trillions of dollars into marketing and manipulation. Period. I mean, it's like, I don't even know why we're going on this, baby. You know me, it's like once I get on something, I can't get off. But it's that kind of stuff, right? And so when we start seeing that and start understanding it, and you realize, like my man Ultron, there are no strings on me. And when you get to that point, that's when you become a dangerous individual.
That's what, you become dangerous, because then you start becoming an influencer, and we don't need those ideas propagated and pushed out there too much.
That's the thing, because if you think about it, it's like the young lady that just recently got killed in Brazil, right? She was a political activist, She was pushing for rights for poor people, for people of color. They were getting harassed and bullied by the police. And she was assassinated like either yesterday or the day before. But think about it. She was assassinated for trying to change people's minds. Think about that. Think about all the slave rebellions, right? Because once you get people to understand that they can't control you, then they can't control you.
Freedom.
It's just that simple. Yeah. See the truth.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I was going to say, Rocky Miller said the true commodity in the world is the human mind. That is so true. Like you said, that's why they put trillions of dollars into making sure that we are surrounded by propaganda and messages that rule and influence our behavior. And then, control the media, control the mind.
And it's like you just, once you start understanding that's truly what becomes the frustrating part of life sometimes, right? When you start seeing the things, if any of you ever get a chance, go look at there's a video, I think we may have talked about it. I think it's called Plato's Cave. Look at it. Yeah.
I haven't seen the video, but I know
this
the story.
Is pretty much what we're talking about. It's Plato's Cave. You might not understand that analogy now, but I'm telling you, go look it up. And when you see it, you'll be like, whoa, okay, I understand it. Because the Plato's Cave scenario is basically when you show people the truth, when you've gone out and seen it and you expose it, people won't believe you. Matter of fact, they'll try to attack you for exposing something. Yeah, they'll literally try to attack you and kill you because you're exposing them to something because they're so used to being in this huddled mindset, right? And the internet has the opportunity to bring that about. The internet has but here's the thing with the internet though. There's so many distractions on the internet. There's so many unregulated distractions on the internet. And if you don't cultivate a mindset to study, to learn and utilize real resources, if you can get past all the smut, all the trolling, all the things that are there to distract you and keep you from moving forward, then the internet just becomes another tool of control.
And that's why, that's one of the things that kind of pushes me as far as making sure that we have voices and we continue to just harp on it. I know sometimes you'll say we always go down these threads, but we have to continually go down, explore, understand, and get deeper wisdom when it comes to these threads, how it affected us in the past, how it affects us now, and how in our understanding and in our knowledge about it, how we can make practical and wiser choices when it comes to making decisions for ourselves, our family, and our community. So that's one of the things that really propels and prompts me to keep doing live streams, keep just putting a post out on a social media platform, just using these tools and platforms while they're available, just to do my part, to be a part of the I want to say the immunity, when it comes to the body, when you your immune system, because that fits well because we are building a global brain, so you want to make sure that you're one of the ones that putting out that you're that white the white blood cell.
Yeah,
it's like exactly every day. That's how Kevin did and Leif did. They was two of those white blood cells that's infected the matrix mind,
and that's the thing. It's like just going back to something that Rocky Miller said earlier. Capitalism tries to get you in a mind of scarcity. It tries to get you in a mind of to where everybody is your enemy. Everybody's in competition. Yeah, we're not in competition. But
definitely.
It's one of the things that they push. It's like when you start understanding that we are not competition. Kevin is not my competition. The resources that are in this world are plenty. There are more than enough resources for everybody on this planet. Even with all the garbage and pollution that's going on, there's still an overabundance of resources. And once we start getting that in our minds, right, it's just, I always talk about it when Lamar and I started working together. It's the whole 212 scenario. Lamar mentioned it earlier on the video a while ago, earlier today. But it's the same thing. It's like, we look at it as it's a value add and not a value takeaway. When you work together, you grow exponentially. Look at it as that. Don't look at it as if I start working with Kevin, then there's less money to go around, then there's more resources that he's going to eat up and we might compete. No, there is no competition. There's more for us to get. We grow exponentially. Is that one put 1,000 to flight, two put 10,000 to flight. So when we come together, we can grow and grow big. And it's just like the more of us that start working together, that start understanding that we are not taking away from each other. We are adding to each other. We are making one another better. Then I get out of the me mind state where I'm going to get mine, the whole Tupac, get mine, get yours. I got to get mine, you got to get yours. No, we can get ours. We can work on getting ours together. Yep. It's like I always say, Lamar, he's a big man. He eats more than I do. So what? If I'm full, he's full. Who cares? It don't matter. It's more than enough resources. and if we start thinking on those in that vein, then more of us will quit competing against each other, looking at somebody as a threat to something you don't own in the first place. And that's the madness of it, right?
Man, that's powerful because and when you take on that mindset, you start talking to people differently. You start approaching life differently. It was making me think when you was talking when I was at a particular position and a guy seen me out. I think I told you this before, and he's like, "Man, what are you doing?" And I didn't know this guy from Adam. He's like, "What you doing? Doing this when you should be? You could be doing this, that, and the other." And he just like gave me a little pep talk, like, "Man." He was just giving me a pep talk, like, man, there's too much money out here for you to be doing this. You should be, you could be doing this. It was just the way he approached me was he came with his hand out as far as in one of unity and being a help and add value versus a knockdown. Because he could, that was very sensitive the way he did it. But I like the way he did it. So, like you said, we're not in competition. We are a value it's crazy add that
this,
to each other.
You see, the idea of competition subsides only when there is abundance. There's plenty of abundance. It's like, I forget, I don't know who mentioned earlier, they're talking about the diamonds and all of that. Man, there's an overabundance of diamonds. It's like people hide stuff and secure stuff away to make it seem as if there's scarcity. It's the Hunger Games. It's the whole premise of the Hunger Games. It's like there's a whole lot to go around. You try to basically enclose people in a small subsection of the world or a community, and then think about it. It's the same thing that we see in hoods, right? When we see violence and these kinds of things. I talked about it. It's like there's a study on ghettos. The Nazi Germans, they were. That's why you put Jews in ghettos and all of that kind of stuff, because they understand that if you put people in confined space, it creates tension, it creates anger, it creates abnormalities, it creates a feeling of anxiety, it creates scarcity, it creates all of these things. Yeah, no, it's the exact same thing. That's why they call them ghettos. It's the exact same thing because it breeds all of these things that aren't natural, right? Because you start breeding. It's the same way that you do with animals. That's why the Nazi Germans and all of this, they did all of those experimentations. People always claim, oh, yeah, we're going to get the war criminals and all of that. That's garbage, because if you look at the research, they utilized that research that they found in the way that they implemented it on those people. They utilized it.
Yeah. They used Hitler was just kind of just left the camp, but they used him to do a lot of stuff that, quote unquote, everybody else couldn't get away with. So, because that's how you end up with the what is that? Where the CIA and some of the Russians took in a lot of these Nazis and used them as far as the background and formulation of the CIA. I forgot the project, what they call it. But you can see a little bit of it in Captain America, the Captain America Marvel movies that exposes that. Man, I'm getting slow right now. I don't know what the deal is.
My wife is calling me. Let me hit her up.
Okay, Cheryl brought up the movie In Time, talking about they hoarded time, using time as a resource. So that, and then when you're talking about the ghettos and the projects, that was one of the things that was done in time, and how people were enclosed off. Same things in Hunger Games. So a lot of these movies, they're like small print, telling you, not small print, but pretty much just telling you what's going on. It's just they put it in entertainment form so that you don't recognize it as the reality. You think it's fiction, and it's nonfiction. It kind of reminds me of Men in Black when old dude Harrison Ford sits down and starts looking at the Enquirer, and Will Smith's like, "What you doing?" He's like, "I'm reading the paper. That's what I'm doing." Find out what's really going on.
Exactly. That's crazy. So anyway, hey, I got to roll, everybody. I'm sorry. My wife is here to come get me, and apparently she's deciding to call me instead of come into the door. Anyway, I love you if you see this. We want to make sure that we have unity in the household. But anyway, say late. Yeah, brother. Hey, yeah, definitely. My man Rock, hit him up. Follow his link. He's gonna be going on live later on. I'll definitely come in and chat it up with you, brother, because I love my dude Rock. Hey, check that dude out, man. He drops mad science. He has a big heart, a huge heart, and he understands finances and all of those things because he is a CPA. But anyway, God bless you guys. We love you. We appreciate you. Hey, yeah, Isaac, don't get me started, man. You can't get me started, man. I keep going on and on. So anyway, love everybody. Sign us off, Kev. Sign us off.
All right, hey, thanks for joining Two Shy Guys and a Mic. We love you guys. Appreciate you coming on and adding value. Hopefully the time and attention that you pay to us add value to your life, and that your return on investment is more than given to us. We thank you. We love you. And we're just going to say peace out, because a happy wife makes
We're greater together, everybody.
Thank you.